What's up, y'all? Okay, today I'm going to be talking about something that honestly I've lived all too well, and many of you have as well too. Okay, so now we know the apps. We know about all the apps, Grinder, Jacked. Hell, there's many, many more. But they're not just apps anymore, though, right? For many of us, they become daily rituals. We scroll, we tap, we message, we meet, we hook up, and then we ghost. Hell, or get ghosted. Yeah, and still, many of us are left feeling, disconnected, alone. But why? Because isn't the sex supposed to connect us? To bring us pleasure? Answer me this. Why does something that was meant to satisfy us leave us feeling so damn lonely and empty at the end? Now, this episode isn't about blaming the apps or demonizing sex. That's not the intent at all. It's about naming the void you feel after your encounters. The one that sometimes feels bigger than your body and louder than your thoughts sometimes. And shit harder to escape than notifications lighting up on your phone right now. So listen, if you've ever had a hookup and still felt alone, or if you scroll for hours looking for something but not knowing what, hell, or if you just pretended casual was enough for you, but you knew your soul was craving something more, real intimacy, then this conversation is going to be for you. Let's unpack the truth behind hookup culture in today's gay society and how it may be masking a bigger issue in the community that we do not even see. Let's get into it. Okay, let me be honest. Hookup culture is a coping mechanism for most. Not for all, but for most. It's also validation and attention. It's proof that someone, even if it's just for a few minutes, they want you. You're still attractive and still desirable and still seen after all your damn insecurities. It starts to feed your ego, give you a slight rush. But after they leave and after a dopamine crash and you clean up your mess, you check your phone again and pretend like everything is all good. But something feels off. There's often a deep, still silence, like an ache in your chest that starts to feel like some type of emotional hangover or something. You know what I'm saying? You can't really put your finger on it, but something's just not right. Now, let me make this clear. Sex isn't the problem. Sex is beautiful. Hookup culture isn't the villain either. But when it becomes the main way that we try to feel worthy, lovable, or enough, we have to ask the tough questions. What's really going on? Like, internally. We got to look at the bigger picture and see what's beneath the surface. Because oftentimes, we find out that ache that we feeling, no number of matches, messages, or hookups can satisfy it. And it's not just about wanting sex or even wanting physical closeness. It's about craving connection, intimacy, the sense of being truly known and seen. For most of us, it's truly about just being seen. We've been invisible for so long that we think once we upload that nude, or full body pic, someone will finally see us. We think, they see me. Yet in reality, when you in the act of the hookup, you only connecting with another broken soul, and neither one of you truly see the other. Damn, now that's the real gag of it all. Intimacy is terrifying, especially in a world where we've been taught that who we are might not be enough or maybe too much. So we reach for what's safer, validation that requires no vulnerability, connection without exposure of our true selves, and touch without trust. Oh, I know so much about that. You want to be intimate with someone. You want to be vulnerable and give your all to someone, but you just can't seem to trust them. Even after all of that ache still lingers. It's like a hunger, not for bodies, but for belonging. For a place where our softness is safe and our strangeness is celebrated, and our hearts are not torn into pieces once we open up. Damn, can we open up without fear of judgment and suspecting that our intimate secrets will be told in the damn group chat once they leave? So the question right now is this: why so many of us are lonely after the hookup? I was scrolling through a blog post and I read a quote and it hit me because it said gay men are emotionally starving. And I read that quote, I said, wait, emotionally starving. That shit hit me like a ton of bricks because it was right. I can remember a time back in the day when I was on Jack faithfully every day. I wasn't hooking up every day, but it was a source of fuel for my ego back then. I hook up, when I felt like it, but mainly it was just to see if I could still pull the pieces, still pull the guys. I was young and this was, like pre-therapy and before I really started my healing journey. I was so emotionally numb and empty in my reality that the notifications were like my fix. And I was starving for an emotional connection. I didn't want a relationship at the time. I was just fueled by my ego. What I was craving was real intimacy and to be seen. Not for how I looked, not for how I dressed, not for how I carried myself, but to be seen, valued, and loved. But like a lot of us when we are younger and, sometimes older, we don't see our true value, especially when we're consumed in a world and having started practicing self-awareness. We cope with feeling alone and empty with fake smiles and alcohol, the drugs, and going to the gym, getting our bodies together and throwing ourselves into our work until we eventually crack. And when we crack, it's hard as hell. That's the shit that nobody prepares you for. The deep, unspoken isolation that sits heavy in the aftermath, not just of the hookup, but of the performance, of the pretending, hell, the act that we put on. Because y'all know, in the midst of that hookup, we put on our best performance. We got to leave an impression. It's all about the ego. We become experts at masking the fact that we are emotionally starved. The shit starts to hurt after a while. Curating versions of ourselves we hope might be enough, or at least enough to be chosen for the night. But the truth is, there's a big difference between being chosen and being cherished. One is short-lived, but to be cherished, that shit feels like food to your soul. Damn. The crazy thing though, somewhere in all of this, we lose track of the truth. That connection, that real, messy, vulnerable connection that we're ultimately longing for, Our bodies move through the motions, performing the act and laying the dick down and throwing it back, but our hearts are standing at the door like, can I come in? Can I be a part of what's going on? I wonder, what would happen if we just let ourselves notice that feeling of really wanting to connect with someone on a deeper level outside of just the physical. If we stop running from the ache and ask, what is it trying to teach us? Maybe then we see that behind all the ego and the filter profile pics and the flirting, like I said, we're just trying to belong. Not to a crowd, not to a scene, but to someone. Hell, maybe even to ourselves. It becomes a hard pill to swallow when you think about it. To realize we've been using our bodies as shields and sex as a fucking substitute, when what we're really hungry for is acceptance and the safety to be seen with all of our fucking scars. Over the years, I've noticed so many of us grew up hiding and afraid, whether it be from upbringing or simply fear of being, our authentic selves. So we learn to shrink, we learn to perform safely, to survive by pretending, you know how we do. And when you learn that who you are isn't lovable, or think that who you are isn't lovable, you start to offer your body instead of your heart first. In a lot of cases, you learn to lead with sex because vulnerability feels like too much of a risk, right? So I want to ask you this: are you scared to take the risk? What we don't realize is hookups reflect the relationship we have with ourselves in the moment, and that reflection in the mirror, ooh, it does not lie. It reflects every emotion we crave and every wall we built to keep ourselves from feeling too much. Maybe that's why so many of us keep returning to these emotionless moments, hoping each time for a different reflection. Maybe a softer one. Maybe one that whispers, "You're enough. I got you." Y'all know we love to hear that, "I got you." Beneath the surface, the hookups become rehearsal for love we haven't even learned to offer ourselves. The way we move, the way we hold others, the way we let go before we can even be held back in return. It all echoes quietly inside of us. That ache for intimacy shapes the way we reach out and the way we pull back, hungry for touch but terrified of exposure. Because the scariest thing isn't the hookup. Of course not. It's what we see in ourselves when the music fades and the lights come back on. And we have to look at each other in our eyes. And you start to really see how broken you are in the eyes of the person you just slept with. I remember nights when I wasn't even horny. I was just hungry, longing for touch, hungry to feel wanted, hungry to not be alone in my body. We don't talk about that hunger, how it shapes our choices that we don't fully understand in the moment. It isn't about lust, not really in the way that the world wants to believe. It's about searching for validation in the instant spark of connection. It's about hoping secretly that maybe this time, the emptiness will be filled, even if for just one night. That damn emptiness starts to grow with each encounter and becomes just another transactional exchange of bruised energy. We walk away with nothing clinging to us but man scent, and although enticing, afterwards is when that ache starts to settle in even deeper as the scent lingers. Maybe y'all know what I mean. Maybe y'all understand where I'm coming from at this point. Maybe not. That strange mixture of relief and disappointment after your hookup, wanting so badly for someone to see past your armor and touch something real inside you. But it feels safer to, never ask for that. Safer to just keep everything on the surface. Y'all know we tell ourselves it's enough, that we're just having fun. The hookups don't mean nothing, but deep down, there's a part of us that aches for something genuine, even if we're afraid to admit it. And the crazy part is, we have the audacity to gaslight the hell of our own selves. It's just sex. It's not that deep. I don't catch feelings. But what we really mean is, if I pretend that I'm okay with casual, maybe I'll finally get someone to stay and love me and see me. Isn't that what we really want? I've come to realize in my community, the Black and brown community primarily, I've noticed that we think that being chill is attractive, not asking for too much, not catching feelings, not needing anything. But let's be fucking for real. That's not chill. That's numb. We are scared to love and be loved. That's the bigger issue. Scared to be vulnerable and allow our souls to connect with another. And in pretending not to care, we end up robbing ourselves of the very fucking connection that we are craving. Real love, real connection. We call it being low maintenance, but it's really self-protection dressed up in coldness. We're the main community that wears detachment like armor, all the while hoping someone would notice the cracks. It's easy to shrug, to laugh things off, to claim, you're immune to love. But the truth is, we're all wired for closeness, for being seen and chosen. Acting unbothered might win you a few nights of company, but it rarely earns you the intimacy your heart quietly hopes for. So what would happen if we dropped the act, if we stopped performing chill and started really admitting we want more? Not just from others, hell, from ourselves. Maybe then we could trade that numbness for nourishment and self-love. Many of us say we don't want anything serious, but then we low-key check their Instagram after they leave. We say no strings, but then we're heartbroken when they unmatch the next day. And it's not our fault. It's conditioning. We tell ourselves that just hooking up is enough, hoping that maybe being close for a night can fill that emptiness that we feel. We act like we're cool with it, laughing off our real feelings, sending memes instead of saying what's on our minds. But later, when the room is quiet and we sitting there looking at our dogs and our cats in their eyes, and the messages stop, the loneliness starts to creep back in, right? And then you realize all you really want is to just really throw your arms around someone, look them in their eyes, and really see the depth of their soul for once, and have them really see you. It stings, doesn't it? Not just because we want someone next to us, but because deep down we want to matter to someone. We want to feel like we matter to someone. We know the difference between being held and truly being seen, between sharing our bed and sharing ourselves. It's that difference that leaves us scrolling through old text messages and old DMs, just trying to feel less invisible. At the end of the day, what we're really craving isn't just sex or a moment's comfort. It's someone who sticks around after the climax, someone who listens, who wants to know us for who we really are. No matter how many times we tell ourselves it doesn't matter, our hearts know better. Maybe the bravest thing we can do isn't to keep pretending, but to admit what we really want and to hold out for someone who wants the same. So, thoughts before your next hookup. I want you to start telling the damn truth for once. Just for once, be honest with yourself and whoever you're hooking up with. I know it may be hard. I know. When you match with someone or message them, tell them what you really are searching for, even if your desires make you look vulnerable or crazy as hell on a hookup app. Be real and honest. Owning your desires, really admitting that casual isn't cutting it, can feel terrifying in a world that rewards nonchalance. I know, I get it. But the path to healing is honesty. Every time you speak your truth, you open the door for a different kind of intimacy, one that's built not on cheap thrills, but on mutual understanding and care. The process is hard. Sometimes we can say what we want and be met with silence or rejection. It's a part of life. Yet each time we choose truth over pretense, we come home to ourselves a little bit more. We start to understand ourselves a little bit more and start to really see who we are a little bit more. It's in that raw honesty that we begin to rewrite the story, not just of who we hook up with, but of what kind of love we believe ourselves worthy of receiving. Because that's the real question. What do you feel like you're worthy of? At the end of the day, we've been taught to settle for surface because deep is too vulnerable, too risky. But let me tell you something. You are not too much for wanting more. You are not clingy. You are not needy. You are human. And as humans, we are wired for intimacy, closeness, and connection. Now I want you to ask yourself these questions before your next hookup. Go on and open your notes app. Go on and get prepared. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want connection or because I feel empty and I need somewhere else to direct this energy? Okay? And I want you to stick with that one. Next, I want you to ask yourself, how do I want to feel after this hookup? Because you know how you feel after the encounter is going to hit you like a ton of fucking bricks. So how do you want to feel? And then I want you to ask yourself, am I looking for sex or am I just avoiding being alone? Are you just afraid of being alone another night, looking at those four walls, closing in on you? Think about that. Sometimes all you need to do is stay in. Text a friend instead of a stranger. Hell, grab your journal instead of getting naked. Or even better, try really sitting with yourself and your thoughts in that moment to really see what comes up. Why are you wanting to hook up in this moment? Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Really give yourself a chance to process your thoughts and see what comes up. Because you'll be shocked at what comes up. I promise you. And it may just make you rethink scheduling that random hookup in that moment. So as we close out this episode, I want to reiterate, there is nothing wrong with occasional hookup here and there under the right conditions. And if you are coming from a place of enjoyment and simple connection, you are not shallow for liking sex, and there is nothing wrong with craving healthy connections. I want you to keep in mind though, that ache that you may feel after casual sex is not random. It's your soul reminding you that I want more. I want something real, and you deserve something real. You deserve to be touched, with intention, to be seen with presence, and maybe to be loved out loud. Come on now. If you know you are not emotionally available to handle the hookup or not in the appropriate headspace, please, I beg of you, go meditate, link up with your friend, watch Netflix, do something outside of just transferring that energy to another soul. It will cause you less pain and heartache in the future. And if you do decide to schedule you a session or two, know your status and protect yourself. And please practice safer sex with anyone you are involved with. Yeah, I already know what's going on in our community right now. It's no joke. I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. This is a little different. And I hope y'all enjoying all of the episodes, honestly. This podcast is becoming like my little virtual journal. And, I've just been able to get out some of my thoughts and process some of my life experiences and learn lessons, in the hopes that, someone may take some of the information and apply it to their lives or learn or just make wiser, better decisions. Hell, or even just think before you make the decisions. Half the decisions that we make in our lives are just made out of impulse, and we don't take time to process and think before we act. As always, thank y'all for holding space with me. Be sure to leave me a comment. Reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, on all the social networks. I want to know, have you been able to apply anything to your life? Let me know. And until next time, y'all already know the vibes. Let's continue to evolve out loud together, baby. I'll see you on the next episode.